Despite being just 21 years old, Will Anderson has been terrorizing offensive linemen for 3 full years in college football's best conference. In his 3 years at Alabama, Anderson racked up a whopping 36 sacks, 214 pressures, along with 65 run stops. Last season, among Power 5 edge rushers who rushed the passer at least 300 times, Anderson ranked first in sacks with 14, was tied for second in quarterback pressures with 65, and posted a pass rush win rate of over 20%. Coach Saban and his defensive staff at Alabama took advantage of Anderson's versatility by aligning him in between the tackles on a considerable portion of his snaps. In 2022, Anderson lined up in the 4-eye technique on the inside shoulder of the offensive tackle about 20% of the time. This interior alignment gave Anderson less space to build up speed before engaging with opposing offensive linemen and subjected him to more double teams, but he still produced like a top-tier edge rusher. The two most important traits in a pass rusher are first step and bend, and both are areas in which Anderson thrives. He gets off the line of scrimmage like a guy who's 50 pounds lighter than he is, so the fact that he ran a 4.6 second 40-yard dash at the combine shouldn't come as a surprise. Anderson does, however, tend to take a false step at the snap. He'll often reset his front foot before exploding across the line of scrimmage, which delays his get-off a bit, but he's a naturally explosive athlete, and assuming he can be coached out of these false steps at the next level, his first step will be even more efficient than it already is. As a pass rusher, Anderson primarily wins with speed to power rushes, which are complemented by his bend. Here, Anderson is aligned on the right side of your screen opposite LSU right tackle Emory Jones. Anderson does take a false step at the snap, but still generates extreme power to knock Jones back at the point of contact. He does a nice job of attacking the right half of Jones's frame, which causes Jones to open his hips and lose the rep. Anderson bends to the quarterback thanks to impressive flexibility in his lower half, and the pressure leads to an incompletion on a crucial third down. Anderson's power rushes often prompt tackles to shoot their hands in an effort to initiate contact, and he displays impressive hand placement on his counter moves off of those power rushes. On this third down from the 2021 college football playoff against Cincinnati, Anderson is again lined up on the right side of your screen opposite Bearcats tackle Dylan O'Quinn. Anderson's explosive jump off the line caused O'Quinn to overcompensate in preparation for the power rush, and Anderson took advantage of that forward lean with what's called a forklift. He landed that hand counter with perfect placement, and the play resulted in a sack. Outside of the forklift though, Anderson's arsenal of counter moves off of his power rush is relatively limited. In college, he could rely primarily on his athletic traits to dominate opposing offensive linemen. But at the next level, he will need to develop a consistent string of moves to be a complete pass rusher. Now, toward the end of last season, Anderson flashed some real nuance in his approach to the pass rush that was mostly absent in his older tape. Here, against Kansas State in Alabama's bowl game, Anderson came in on a delayed rush. Upon closing the gap between himself and the opposing tackle, Anderson flashed his chest, which drew out the tackle's outside hand. He countered with a well-placed club to that outstretched arm, and finished with a swim to reduce the tackle's target surface for a second punch. A few drives later, Anderson used the same approach to earn another pass rush win, this time with a slightly different move. He again flashed his chest to draw out a punch from the opposing tackle, then countered with another club placed right on the tackle's elbow and finished the move with a rip. Anderson is somewhat developmental as a pass rusher, but he has top-tier athletic traits to build off of, and the tape indicates a positive development trajectory. For a defensive lineman who weighs in at under 250 pounds, Anderson is one hell of a run defender as well. He attacks zone scheme run plays with a disciplined approach. He consistently forces cutbacks with proper leverage, and can even fall back into a secondary gap if the assignment calls for him to do so. Here, Alabama deployed a 404 tight front with Anderson aligned in the 4-eye technique on the inside shoulder of the right tackle. He was quick to identify the zone scheme footwork from the opposing lineman, and occupied the right side B gap with play side leverage, which forced the ball carrier to cut on his tackle's outside hip. Anderson then fell back into the C gap to make the tackle, and held the second down run to no gain. His proficiency as a run defender shows up on gap scheme designs as well. Here, Ole Miss is running one-back power, which tells the left guard to pull and kick out Anderson on the edge. Post-snap, Anderson is again quick to recognize the concept. He locates the pulling guard, drops his inside shoulder to set a hard edge, and maintains outside leverage to force the ball carrier into the alley. When the running back follows his lead-blocking H-back through the gap on the edge, Anderson swipes the guard's hands away to fall back into that gap and makes the tackle. His violent nature at the point of attack was maximized by Bama's frequent run stunt calls, which tell the defensive linemen to attack a gap away from where they're aligned. Here, Anderson is aligned outside of the tackle on the right side of your screen, but is responsible for the right side A gap. The 3-technique defensive tackle, DJ Dale, will penetrate the B gap, and Anderson will work over the top of him, looping into the A gap. Post-snap, Anderson catches Hurricanes right guard Navon Donaldson off balance as he passes the stunt off, and generates insane power through his lower half to throw Donaldson into his own running back. Now, Anderson's role in Bama's scheme, given his size, did result in some ugly reps. He would occasionally get put on the ground by an opposing offensive lineman, but for a guy who's under 250 pounds taking frequent reps in the B gap, a few pancakes are inevitable. On the aggregate though, Anderson profiles as a dominant run defender who can overcome his lack of size. He's likely to be forced into a more permanent edge role at the next level, so reps in the B gap are probably a thing of the past for him. But he does project as a scheme versatile edge. He can play a stand-up role in a 3-down front, or line up with his hand in the dirt in a 4-down front. People who have spent time around Anderson have nothing but good things to say about his character as well. Coach Saban said that he took on a leadership role in Alabama's locker room, setting a great example for his teammates both on and off the football field. Anderson will be just 21 years old on draft day. And even though there are some developmental areas of his game, he provides one of the most desirable profiles of any player in this draft class. I landed on a top 10 grade for Anderson, and he currently ranks at number 3 on my big board, behind only Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter and Texas running back Bijan Robinson. Speaking of the big board, it is now up on my Patreon. On the board, you'll find a prospect grade between 0 and 10, and each of the name cells are linked to individual scouting reports. Here, you can see Will Anderson's, and each of these includes some background information such as high school recruiting ranks and combine testing, along with a quick scouting report. Becoming a patron is the best way to support the growth of the channel, and all it takes is $1 a month to gain access. Those of you who are generous enough to donate can also request an evaluation of any draft prospect, and they will be added to the board. But that's all I've got for today. From now until draft day, most of my energy will be focused on the big board, so I'm not sure if I'll get another video out before the 28th, but either way, I have a lot of things planned for this offseason that I'm really excited about. As always, thank you guys so much for sticking around, and I will see you in the next one. So until then, peace.